If we are not able to create enough job, it will be challenging because at this moment of time, India is an anti-AI trade. AI will help in doing things faster rather than disrupting the services.
उसका एक एग्जांपल देना पसंद करेंगे कि किस तरीके से AI एक हेल्प करेगा कोई भी एक्टिविटी को फास्टर करने के लिए, ना कि वो किसी का जॉब ले लेगा.
We used to hire a team of lawyers in UAE to make documents, things that. So what AI helps them today? AI helps them to make the initial documentation faster, and then they can hand it over to the team so that they can make a final print. India has a large population, and we have every year 1 million engineers coming up.
तो अभी जैसे हम BFSI को अगर हम दो हिस्सों में बांटे, वन इज योर लेंडिंग बिजनेसेस और दूसरा आपका नॉन लेंडिंग बिजनेसेस में, तो अभी पोर्टफोलियो कंस्ट्रक्शन किधर टिल्ट है?
सो इन जनरल आप इंडेक्स देखोगे तो इंडेक्स का टिल्ट कंपोजिशन इज टुवर्ड्स मोर बैंक्स लेंडिंग बिजनेस में. पर मेरे पास पोर्टफोलियो में if I had to compare them, I'm on higher weight on non-life or life businesses. I had a higher weight on capital market businesses compared to the benchmark. But and within the lending businesses, I have a higher tilt towards private banks.
Okay. तो आपको क्यों लगता है कि इस टाइम पे BFSI एक अच्छा प्ले हो सकता है? क्या चीज़ें ऐसी है जो शायद बाजार देख नहीं रहा है या जो रिटेल इन्वेस्टर देख नहीं रहे, लेकिन आपको वो डेटा पॉइंट्स काफ़ी अपीलिंग लगते हैं?
एक तो BFSI sector is a domestic sector, so it has nothing to do with the overall global economy. It is very domestic, like, and incrementally last 12 months में whatever policy measure has been taken by the government as well as by RBI are towards pro growth. So we are now moving towards a growth. Second, India का balance sheet या India का BFSI sector का banks का balance sheet ये लास्ट 20 साल में इतना प्रिंस्टाइन नहीं था जितना अब है. There is no NPA, well capitalized. And RBI has taken all the measure in terms of supporting growth. So from here on, incrementally, this becomes a growth as well as a defensive sector because it is not linked to the global export-oriented sector. वैसे कोई linkage नहीं है. So it becomes a good defensive play as well. And see, in general, हम हर कंपनियों का प्रॉफिट देखते हैं कि कितना प्रॉफिट है. BFSI is the only sector which has the highest profit margin. आप किसी कंपनी का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी में ऐसा टर्नओवर देखते हो, मतलब कितना कैपिटल डाला है और कितना टर्नओवर है, क्या मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट है. बैंकिंग में वैसा नहीं. बैंकिंग में आप देखते हो कि लोन बुक कितना है और उसका नेटवर्थ कितना है, कितने टाइम लिवरेज है. आप समझो तो जितना द हायर द लिवरेज, हायर इज द प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी. देयरफॉर BFSI सेक्टर हैज द हाईएस्ट प्रॉफिट पूल.
ओके. तो आपने जैसे ग्रोथ बोल दिया, लेकिन इसमें जब आप इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हो तो आई एम श्योर जैसे आपने गार बोला है तो वैल्यूएशन की तरफ भी आप थोड़ा सा ध्यान देते होंगे. तो वैल्यूएशन के तौर पे आपको कहाँ लगता है कि वेयर इट स्टैंड्स करंटली विज़ द अदर सेक्टर्स?
राइट. सी राइट नाउ आप देखो तो इंडिया में लास्ट 1 year NBFCs हैव डन वेरी वेल बिकॉज दे वर एबल टू ग्रो फास्टर देन द बैंक्स. And that's why the stock valuation देखो तो सारे NBFC के valuation are today are very rich. They are trading more than 2 times, 3 times, 4 times price to book value depending on the growth they have. Whereas most of the banks in general have corrected. All large banks have corrected because of the fact that there was at some point of time system में liquidity नहीं थी, deposit challenge था. So अगर आज आप risk reward देखोगे तो within lending space, banks are at better risk reward as compared to NBFCs. And growth differential are coming down. So NBFCs have now also achieved a size, and the gap between their growth and bank growth are narrowing down. So in that context, bank over the next 2 years will give much better risk reward return compared to an NBFC.
Okay, great. तो आप दूसरा फंड मैनेज करते हैं जो HDFC वैल्यू फंड है, तो मैं चाहूँगा कि इफ़ यू कैन स्पेंड सम कपल ऑफ मिनट्स ऑन दैट फंड, आपकी फिलोसॉफी और ये फंड से जो ऑडियंस है वो क्या एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं.
सी बाय वैल्यू वी मीन सबको लगता है कि वैल्यू का मतलब होता है कि यू आर बाइंग अ चीप स्टॉक, आप सस्ता स्टॉक खरीद रहे हो, सस्ता बिज कर रहे हो. वैल्यू का दैट इज नॉट ट्रू डेफिनेशन. सी वैल्यू का डेफिनेशन मतलब होता है कि वी आर बाइंग बिजनेसेस व्हिच आर ट्रेडिंग बिलो इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू या बिलो रिप्लेसमेंट कॉस्ट. तो इसलिए हमने हमारे वैल्यू फंड को 3 पार्ट में कैटेगराइज किया है. One, we are saying we will buy businesses which are trading below intrinsic value or below their replacement cost basis. Second, we said value is like relative valuation. See, India is a well discovered market, so relative valuation also plays a very important role. So we look at relative valuation, and third, we look at companies which are at inflection point. कि जहाँ पे लग रहा है कि यहाँ से growth improve होगा, margin change हो रहा है, capital allocation ठीक हो रहा है. These are the three bucket when we invest. And in general, वैल्यू फंड के जो मेरा ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट है उसमें हम लोगों ने वैल्यू डिफाइन किया है कि 60% ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो विल बी टुवर्ड्स कंपनीज वेयर द पीई और प्राइस टू बुक वैल्यू विल बी लोअर देन द लास्ट 5 year एवरेज. ओके, सो इफ यू लुक एट द ब्लेंड ऑफ ऑल दिस थिंग्स, तो जनरली वैल्यू फंड इज नथिंग बट अ फंड व्हिच इज ऑफरिंग cheaper stock, and it's a gap strategy. मतलब you are buying even a growth stock at a reasonable valuation.
तो अभी मान के चलते हैं कि पिछले 10 साल में अगर देखते हैं, 10 साल को हम 5-5 साल में डिवाइड करते हैं, तो पहला 5 साल में ऐसा हो सकता है कि एवरेज वैल्यूएशंस ऑफ पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर वुड बी लोअर रिलेटेड टू ये पिछले 5 साल के मुकाबले. तो उस केस में क्या होगा? मान के चलो अब नेक्स्ट 5 years आएगा तो यू ऑलरेडी हैव एडेड स्टॉक्स बेस्ड ऑन द हायर पी वैल्यूएशन बेस्ड ऑन द 5 year एवरेज जैसा.
सो मैंने आपको बताना, मेरे फंड का डेफिनेशन क्या, 60% ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो विल बी सर्विस दैट. ओके, तो 40% ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो स्टिल क्वालिफाइज फॉर स्टॉक. सपोज मैंने आज किसी स्टॉक को वैल्यू बुझ के लिया व्हिच कम्स इन अ डेफिनेशन दैट इट इज चीपर देन द लास्ट 5 year. इन आफ्टर 2-3 years द स्टॉक अप्रिशिएट एंड इट बिकम एक्सपेंसिव देन लास्ट 5 year, then it would not qualify in the 60% definition but still qualifies in the 40% definition. Okay, so through this portfolio we can participate in the journey of the company's growth. We don't have to just sell strictly because it doesn't fall in the definition of the value.
So we can expect growth and value combination of both.
Correct, which is what I said ki it's a gap strategy. Ki we would be holding stocks growth at reasonable valuation.
तो आपकी मतलब आई थिंक 2025 एटलीस्ट द सेकंड हाफ ऑफ द 25 वी हैव सीन लॉट ऑफ वोलेटिलिटी. आई थिंक द लॉट ऑफ गुड न्यूज़, मे बी EU FTA, मे बी आपका जो US के साथ में ट्रेड डील है वहाँ पे आपको ग्रीन शूट्स मिले हैं. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि ये कैलेंडर ईयर जो 26 कैलेंडर ईयर है, वोलेटिलिटी बनी रहेगी या थोड़ा यहाँ से सबड्यूड होना चालू हो जाएगा?
तो वोलेटिलिटी तो इक्विटी मार्केट का नेचर ही है. ओके, बट इक्विटी मार्केट वर्क्स ऑन फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग. सो इंडिया साइनिंग अ EU ट्रेड डील एज वेल एज द US ट्रेड डील is positive from a 3 to 5 year perspective. It's significantly positive for India. So visibility of growth increases. It gives confidence that Indian companies would now have access to US as well as to EU, which are the two large geographies or large GDP contributor. So इसलिए इंडिया का ग्रोथ विजिबिलिटी पे बहुत इम्प्रूवमेंट आ जाता है. सो मे बी 3 months 6 months वॉलेटिलिटी रहेगा, बट और आप 3 year का व्यू लोगे तो यू आर अगेन ऑन अ पाथ ऑफ ग्रोथ.
एक चीज आपकी मतलब BFSI के ऊपर आपकी काफी अच्छी पकड़ है, लेकिन अभी आप एक ऐसा फंड मैनेज कर रहे हैं जो सेक्टर एग्नोस्टिक है. तो वो हिसाब से अगर हमें बियॉन्ड फाइनेंशियल्स अगर देखना है, अगर हमको अगले 30 से 5 साल के पर्सपेक्टिव से देखना है, तो आपको कौन से ऐसे सेक्टर्स है जहाँ पे आपको लगता है कि वैल्यूएशन आर रीजनेबल है और ग्रोथ फिर भी आ सकता है? करेक्ट.
सी, मैंने आपको बताया था कि मेरे 3 बकेट है इन्वेस्टिंग के. एक तो इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू, एक है रिलेटिव वैल्यूएशन और एक है टर्न अराउंड कंपनीज. सो एज वी स्पीक टुडे मुझे लगता है कि स्टेपल्स, कंज्यूमर स्टेपल्स आर द वन हु हैव नॉट सीन द ट्रू बेनिफिट ऑफ द GST कट. ऑटोज हैव सीन द बेनिफिट ऑफ GST कट, but staples are not there. So staple stock मुझे लगता है they are trading at relatively lower valuation compared to historically. That is one where we can play. In terms of contra or a turnaround, today as we speak there are some of the hospital stocks which are offering similar contra theme or turnaround play. IT as a sector can become a contra theme. So when we talk about value fund, value contra is a subset of value. Okay. So that's why you can play IT also as a contra theme. At this moment of time, India is an anti-AI trade. Okay, because Indian economy is a service oriented, and now market or everyone feels that services will die because of the AI. Correct. And therefore I believe that AI will help in doing things faster rather than disrupting the services. Disruption could be in terms of things doing faster. Okay. So AI would be an supportive to growth rather than eating the growth.
कोई आप उसका एक एग्जांपल देना पसंद करेंगे कि किस तरीके से AI एक हेल्प करेगा कोई भी एक्टिविटी को फास्टर करने के लिए, ना कि वो किसी का जॉब ले लेगा? Is there any example you would like to share?
So we keep on meeting different companies. So
Correct.
one of the company indicate to us that they have operation in India as well as in Middle East, UAE.
Okay.
So they say whenever we wanted to do a contract in UAE, we used to hire a team of lawyers in UAE to make documents, team that. So what AI helps them today? He said we upload the India documents and say that what are the changes to be made if I have to follow EU regulation in those documents. AI throws up that. So so AI is faster. AI makes all the changes. But is AI perfect? That answer no one knows. Therefore, you still need human intervention. So what AI helps them in to make the initial documentation faster, and then they can hand it over to the team so that they can make a final print. So AI helps in things delivering faster.
It's more like an enabler.
It's more an enabler.
ओके आपने एक काफ़ी अच्छा इंडिया स्टोरी प्रेजेंट किया हमारे टीम के साथ में है. एक ही क्वेश्चन आता है कि हमें जब भी कोई अच्छी स्टोरी प्रेजेंट करता है तो हमें रिस्क भी पता होना चाहिए. तो आपके यू नो लाइक इज देयर एनी डेटा पॉइंट्स यू हैव इन योर माइंड व्हिच कैन डीरेल द इंडिया ग्रोथ स्टोरी एंड व्हिच आर दोस इफ एट ऑल इफ यू हैव.
See, the world has become a global economy. So anything happens in the global economy would have repercussion in India. So now world has become a connected world. So if there is a significant slowdown in global economy, it would have impact on India as well.
Okay.
If any of the trade deal doesn't materialize as we are thinking, then India would also have a struggle in terms of growth. See, the only challenge we see for India is India has a large population and we have every year 1 million engineers coming up. As I indicated, more than 1 crore people every year does pass 10, 12 and does do after 12 they will do some course. So we have a large population, and for that growing large population we need enough jobs, and that is the only risk we see in India. If we are not able to create enough job, it will be challenging for us. And that is also both advantage and disadvantage. See, India doesn't have a manufacturing base. We are a service economy, and this trade deal help us to establish our manufacturing. So 2 year back or 3 year back, everyone thought about China plus one strategy. Today no one talks about China plus one strategy because of the trade tariff and all that happened in the global economy. So every country will need to become self-sufficient. So India still has a time to play China plus one strategy. This trade deal will help us to become more competitive, and we can have a lot of manufacturing in India. That not only help us to do our export well, do the economy well, but to create job for our youth. So I think the only risk I see is job creation in India. That is only risk.
So whatever these chaotic things are happening in the name of the trade or tariff, do you get a sense that maybe near futures the global growth will slow down? Because most of the countries are doing their adjustments, and once the dust gets settled down, once they get certainty, now obviously global companies, then they will start allocating their capital, incremental capital.
So we all thought that US has a very high fiscal deficit and US will slow down. In fact, if you look at US number, it doesn't seem that the economy is slowing down. They are still doing much better. Europe already had a very bad patch in terms of growth, and I think incrementally also things are in general are stable to improving trend. So I don't see that global economy will slow down. And India's growth, if you see, despite all the challenges across the board, India still had delivered on the growth. Our real GDP has been growing at 7%. So if you look at that context, so I don't think that US is slowing down in any way, in a big way, despite the fact they have higher tariff, they have a higher inflation. Look at the amount of investment they have done in AI. So at some point of time, US company will also start thinking, hey, we need to have some ROE on this investment.
Correct.
Second, world over, both US and in Europe has not invested in real assets. See, their airport, their roads, their power infrastructure are now 15 to 20 year old. They need to invest in those things. So in general, I think growth will be very stable to improving across global.
Okay, great. I think last maybe 15 months, the equity market have gone nowhere. But the talk of the town is basically two asset class, which is your gold and silver. Wanted your view on that. How do you look at those things?
Okay. See, gold rally, if you see last 4-5 years, is largely driven by central bank reallocating their reserve. If you look at any large economy, they had all increased their allocation towards gold, and therefore gold rally has been driven by central banks. to an extent, given uncertainty in the world, everyone wanted to de-risk themselves from US economy, and that's why they had moved from US Treasury to gold.
Okay.
So to that extent, till the time the central government treasuries, they don't find an equilibrium in terms of how much allocation they wanted to have gold, gold will continue to remain in action. As far as silver is concerned, see, silver is an industrial commodity as well. So if the price continues to grow very high, the industry which is using silver will have to find out an alternative to silver. Second, the extraction cost of silver is around $20 to $30, and today it's trading at 3x to 4x of that. So at this price, I think you could see supply also coming up. So I believe I generally think gold as more of a stable currency, or you can call stable asset class, whereas silver continue to remain a very volatile asset class. So I think if you look at any asset allocation fund, they would have more allocation to gold as compared to silver, and therefore I think gold remains to be a very stable form of, you can see. And second, there is a lot of FOMO effect today. If suppose gold and silver corrects by 20%, I think you will see a lot of people wanted to buy it as an asset class. See, our memories are always short term. We had always seen 1 and 2 year and 3 year return, that's why we wanted to allocate more and more to gold and silver.
Correct.
We forget that there are time period when gold has not given a return for 4, 5 years.
10 years. So if you look at 2011, that's where the gold and silver peaked. The next peak happened in 2025. So almost it is basically 13 years period.
So that's why I think asset allocation could be the right way to play this, because the fund will keep on investing and churning depending on the view in gold, silver, or in equities.
Good. So I'll take this maybe our discussions, and maybe if you can able to deliver your learnings, you come with almost like a 20 years of learnings, and there are two trends which I can see. One trend is basically most investors do look at past returns, and they anchored of their investment largely because of their past return. This is number one. I would like to have your views on the same. And second thing is basically whenever the market becomes more volatile, a lot of people do not have a stomach to digest that. Right? So if I wanted to have your views on your 20 years of experience, how as an investor they should look at these two things. One is past performance, and second is if the market gives volatility.
If you see, most of the people now are comparing market from the low when it was at the COVID times. So from that times we see 21, 22, 24% return. But that is not a true benchmark. That is also got impacted because of low base effect. But if you look at 10, 15, 25 year return of markets, they are more or less in line with the nominal GDP growth. So I think over a medium to longer period of time, equity market tend to give returns 1 or 2% higher than the normal GDP growth, and that is what should be the expectation. See, we carry in most of our presentation the rolling return of Sensex. If you see that, then the returns are similarly in line with plus or minus 1 or 2% in line with the nominal GDP growth, and that remains. I think second. See, India has also become a well-discovered market. So the amount of money which has come to the mutual fund in last 3 years has been unprecedented. So whenever such a large money chases a return, I think you have to look at that to an extent returns comes down. Second, returns are also a function of the alternatives available. See, all alternatives, if you look at fixed income, today the bank FD rates are at 6.3, 6.5%. And if you take out a 30% tax in that, the alternative to equities are 4%. So even if you generate a 12% return, it is still significantly higher than the debt return. So in that context, equity asset class remains the only asset class where you can deploy a large amount of money. It is liquid. And tax efficient, and it is linked to the GDP of the country. So if the country continues to grow, you could continue to see more gain. It is not that like gold is linked to international things, silver is speculative, so, and real estate is liquid. So in that context, if you see broadly where you can deploy a large amount of money and where it can compound in line with your GDP growth, it's the only asset class.
So are you confident and are you foreseeable that in near future, maybe another 5 year, 10 year, maybe Indian equity has potential to deliver 12% sort of return, because that's what the maybe as an economy will grow in the same range?
So see, no one guarantees anything in equity return. The markets are generally volatile. The only thing we believe is if our nominal GDP continues to grow at 10 to 11%, one can expect our economy, our companies to grow in a similar fashion. So end of the day, all companies are a subset of the economy, and therefore we can expect a similar return in line with the nominal GDP plus or 2 minus. The second advantage India can have is that we have, like we said, we have done a 2 trade deal with US and with Europe. if we are able to materialize those deals and we can grow our export, right, that can add extra point to the GDP or to the nominal GDP, and that's why one can expect a little better return if we are able to execute as a country.
Okay. This would be my last questions. You come with almost 20 years of experience, and as a human, obviously, every human goes through their own mistakes or a tough time, basically. I'm sure you will have your own shares of mistakes or tough times. Any those tough times or those mistakes have fundamentally shaped up the investment process? And if that is yes, which are those?
See, I had tracked BFSI sector for last 20 years, and therefore I had seen multiple cycles in BFSI sector. So while investing, one need to be cognizant of the fact that where we are in the cycle and how much risk we are taking in the portfolio. So today when we speak fund management, it's apart from a stock selection, portfolio construct, there is another role the fund manager plays is of a risk role. How much risk one takes in the portfolio, what is the risk appetite the fund manager has, and what is the type of portfolio or the idea which has been sold or which has been the advisors are advising to their client. So my work apart from stock selection is also managing risk in the portfolio. So I do manage in terms of how much allocation I do individual stock, how much sector allocation we do. So we are well cognizant of this fact, and that is why the HDFC Value Fund, if you see, it has a 30-year track record. It's a very old fund of HDFC, and in each of the year 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, it has been able to beat benchmark. And has been very consistent. So if you look at the performance, has been very consistent, and that is the way we manage risk in the portfolio.
Okay. One more last on this same. Let's say suppose I am a individual investor. I am an individual direct stock investor. You also invest in a stock in a very institutional manner, basically. Now the information arbitrage today is not there, which was there maybe 20 years back. So the question comes, why an investment professional like you will outperform over a long period of time relative to somebody who is managing his own direct stock portfolio.
Correct. See, the only advantage institutions carry is the fact that they have a team of professionals who are experts. So like at our end, we have 7-8 analyst people team who are between 12 to 20 years of experience managing looking at those sectors. This experience we have built over time, and that is what helps us to make a very informed decision in terms of how we are looking at different sectors. And see, today when we talk about business cycle, see, in the past business cycle used to be for 5-7 years. Today business cycle itself has become 3-year, 5-year. We never thought AI will come and it will disrupt business in such a manner. So business cycle have become shorter and shorter, and that is what you say ki help of an expert always helps you. It is advisable to take a help. So at our end, the whole research team, their work 24/7 is to keep on looking at each individual analyst, look at what are happening, what are the trends in the sector, what are the news events and their implication on the businesses on the sector.
24/7, 365 days.
And that is what we believe ki when you are an individual investor in equity directly, he would have to see more risk, or he have to manage more volatility in the portfolio. Whereas over here, not only we have research team, we also manage the portfolio risk in terms of how much allocation we do. So it is always, see, when you buy a portfolio with a 50-60 stock, the risk is distributed among the 60 stock. So it is not only important to make money, but to make money in a risk adjusted manner.
Appreciate, Anandji, really appreciate. Thanks for your time and thanks for the wisdom you shared with our audience.
Thank you.